Hello Pioneers, in the last episode of our MEGAFACTORY build series, we solved a critical power crisis by building a rocket fuel factory to generate 100,000 megawatts of power. In this episode, we bring SAM ore into our base and produce SAM fluctuators and experiment with diagonal design for our first manufacturer building. Diagonals are a bit tricky, but worth it for breaking up the blocky grid of our factory. Can we pull it off and elevate our factory's aesthetics? Let's find out. Back at our main base now, and we have an extra 100,000 megawatts of power to play with. I'm sitting pretty at around 55,000 megawatts of power, way above our blue line, and now we can work towards what we actually wanted to do, which was nuclear power, but actually we have a little bit of time in between. Remember our alien power augmenters? These lovely puppies? Well, we can build quite a few of them, and each one of them is a free 10% extra power, right? Which is fantastic, but you can actually get these to be even better by shoving something into them. And I believe the thing that we shove into them is an alien power something? Power matrix? Maybe I haven't researched it in the map. In the alien tech tree, yeah. It's this alien power matrix thing that we have to research. Let me just quickly go and research that. Well, we can't at the moment. Damn it. But after 7 minutes, we'll go and research this, and then we'll figure out how to build one of these. And once we have these power matrices, we can actually start putting these online. And I don't know what percentage these will go up to, but I'm sure it's going to be quite a lot of power, and that will help us bridge to nuclear power as well, because we have the power to be able to build these things. I hope 100,000 megawatts is plenty. I don't know what volume and what quantity we need to bring it in, but the first thing that we need to build, according to the Wikipedia recipe, is SAM fluctuator. So that's another basic raw resource that we need to deal with, and I'm not really sure where we're going to build this because we've kind of exhausted all of our room on this side, and maybe we should start working on the other side. I don't know. I mean, it seems like a good idea. I just was wondering whether I wanted to drop my base down a little bit in terms of elevation, or should we just continue it at this elevation so if it does go all the way over there, it doesn't run into those cliffs over there. I think we'll just keep the same elevation, and we'll start building our new factory section on this side, which does mean we will need a new road on this side. So let's start carving this out first. If I just get rid of all of this, I think that would create enough room for the road. Remember, our initial goal was that the train hub that's going to bring in all of our raw resources is basically going to be the center of our world, right? That makes the most sense to me, and then we can build all our stuff around it, and we will build it out from the train hub, and the more advanced things get, like it'll sort of, if you imagine the train hub is the center of our world, and then the basic resources will sort of wrap around it. And then as it gets more advanced, we'll build outwards in every single direction. And I think the back area will be good to do the alien stuff. That front area that we've built our first completed city block, that's all handling all of our basic resources like iron, copper and whatnot. So we will just go ahead and get rid of this stuff, and we will build a new road and start a new block right here. All right, so let's see how we can start off this road. So there's my road. I need it to tile against this thing and not at the wrong height. Let's see if that's correct. That looks like it lines up nicely. Now we can go into blueprint mode and just tile out the rest. And we're one tile off over here, but we'll do something about that when the time comes. Just close that off for now. And we've got a nice road on the back of our train station. And now we can figure out where to start this alien power matrix thing. So it makes sense to me to just start from here, because why not use this last station over here? We'll figure out where to bring SAM in, and then we'll start our factory right here, I guess. And remember, our train station for the north-south is going to extend all the way that way and that way, so we can't use that area. But I think this will be the starting block of our new factory for the alien stuff. Now, the first step is to bring SAM into our base and turn it using constructors, and there's no alternative recipes for this, I don't think, into reanimated SAM. Yep, there's only one recipe, so that's a pretty straightforward production. Let's quickly figure out where the nearest SAM site is and grab our SAM. Well, according to the Satisfactory map, the nearest pure SAM site is all the way up north over here, and there's one near our home down here somewhere, I think. It's like down here, I think that's pretty much where our old base is, and we're already tapping that one. So we can't really use that. I mean, I can because my old base isn't really doing anything useful anymore. But I don't really want to decommission stuff from my old base. So we can either take the one all the way up there, or we can take the one from directly under us, which is just a normal node, but that's fine. Let's try to figure out where that is first. Which means we don't even need trains for this one, I don't think. It's like literally right here somewhere. Is it being covered by this thing? It's like here, but it's like 140 meters away. So I assume it's all the way down below us inside a waterfall or something. If you're enjoying the video and you want to support Data Engineer Plays, don't forget to leave a like and hit that subscribe button. And if you have any feedback or suggestions, feel free to share them in the comment section. Alright, you know what? After looking around below us for that SAM ore, I have no idea. It must be in a cave in a waterfall or something, but I have no idea how to get to it. But, you know, I've changed my mind. I'm just going to go grab the SAM ore that our old base is using because, like I said, our old base isn't producing anything that we need. The only thing that it's producing is singularity cells, which is powering the portal between here and here, which, I mean, we don't really need to go back to our old base ever. So we're going to just grab that SAM ore instead. But before I do that, I'm going to just head over to my old base and just do this alien power matrix research. I'm back at my old base now. I've got my 500 SAM fluctuators, 100 power shards, and singularity cells. So we're going to start that research now. And that's done. Haven't heard Ada talk for a while, so let's see what she has to say.
Alien power matrix recipe unlocked. These disposable synthetic mimic artifacts increase power augmenter output by further stabilizing the Summersloop's connection to its energy harvesting location.
You grow shrines and engrave silent organs incompatible with the tapestry.
It is a beginning, far from an ending, a step in between.
Harmony.
How cryptic and poetic. Alright, so let's go and start. Well, we need to basically go back to our old base and start tiling out the railway to where the pure SAM node is. It is going to be the pure SAM node being used by all this stuff making singularity cells and whatnot, but that's fine. I don't think our old base is producing anything that we need anymore, especially with my build costs turned off, so I don't really need it. I think, like, I mean, it's kind of cheating having the build costs turned off, but it's just, it's not like it's a challenge or anything. It's just an inconvenience at this point, really, having to run back between my old base and my new base just to grab concrete when we're doing such like big construction projects. And having to grab that concrete means we need that portal online, and having that portal online means we need to have that whole old base going just to make singularity cells, which is kind of dumb. So I'm going to get rid of that inconvenience now by just turning off the build costs, and we're just going to build stuff, and we're going to focus this series on building creative things. So here is my north-south railway. Now it is going to tile through our aluminium factory, but hopefully it won't clip anything important. I don't really care if it does, because all of that should be going offline at the moment. We can't turn off the aluminium factory because it is supplying aluminium for our old nuclear power plant over there, but we can start tiling. So the way we do this is we put 2 sets of empty rail tracks in. 1, 2, and then we put in our rail track with actual rails. Then we connect the railway from the old bit to the new bit. It's a little bit hard to do with all these trees in the way. And yes, I know I can shoot these with explosive rebar, but I haven't got explosive rebar, so I'm just going to chop it down with my chainsaw. Not that trees prevent the train from working anyway, so it doesn't really matter. But I'm going to pave the way all the way to the SAM, and I'm going to set all that up. You see me set up train stations to grab ore a million times now in this series, so when that's done, I'll come back and talk about it. Alright, we've made it to our SAM site. We've set up an entire rail system that goes all the way back to our main base, and we're just tapping off the old SAM ore that was going out to make whatever end game components in our old factory. We're not going to use that anymore. We're now just taking it up. The only difference here, I just had to think about the complex way I do my lift system with the double input, and like, if I can, I might try to put the storage container in line with this thing. That way we can just do 2 very simple belts into it and get that double buffering system going. So that's going to buffer into here, hopefully, and then load this train with SAM ore. Now we're going to go back to our main base, and we're going to set up the other side of that. Since we're at our old base, we'll just use the teleporter down here. Probably for the last time until I get singularity cells up and running again. But like I said, we shouldn't need to travel back to this base ever again. Alright, we're back at the new base now, and I'm seriously thinking about setting up some hypertubes to get around this new base because it is absolutely massive. But we have a couple of stations left. I think I've reserved one for sulfur, nitrogen, something, but this one's going to be for SAM ore. So if we go to our timetable, find our SAM train 1, we should be able to edit that timetable. Oh, I can't speak today. And add on SAM ore, save the changes, and hopefully that train will start heading over. It says it's operational. While it's heading over, we're going to change all of these to unload. There's only one train of SAM at the moment, but that's what we'll work with. We'll make our SAM processing a little bit extensible because we know that SAM is... we need quite a lot of SAM for the endgame stuff. That's why we ended up having to get a second belt of SAM. So while that SAM is being transported in, we'll just assume that it's going to be unloaded over here somewhere. So we'll set up the unloading part over here right now. We're going to need more floor. And we're going to need some storage chests. Now this, unfortunately, I can't. There's no room to put a bunch of storage chests on this level. So I do have to do the weird loading system that I'm doing. So the output is going to go 1, 2, 3, 4. Then we're going to need ourselves a storage chest over here. Make sure that's all in line. There we go. Now we can belt that in, belt that out, and then get that going up. Line that up. And we only have one freight of SAM coming in, but it should be coming in at 1200. So that's what we'll build to, and then hopefully it'll be stored in there. We'll monitor that. To seal off this outside area, we usually just use catwalks, right? No, we don't even use catwalks anymore. It's easy to seal off now. We just use railings. With this proper buffering system, nice and easy. Now we do need to make this floor the right material, which is grid foundation. Grip, I keep saying grid. It's a grip metal foundation. So we'll get that going towards the end, and hopefully eventually 7 freights of SAM ore should be enough for our purposes. But at the moment we have our 1 freight, which is perfect. Hopefully our train will arrive soon. It has arrived, and it has stored the SAM in there, and we have SAM indeed. Excellent. So that's another material down, another major milestone for our factory. All right, with that done, we can start focusing on building the constructor buildings required to do this. Now that's just going to be a straight up constructor factory. Do we need to do anything fancy with this? Reanimated SAM. I don't think we need to do anything fancy with this. We just know that 1200 is just going to become 300 reanimated SAM, which is really sad. But if each one can process that, we only need 10. 10? Really? 10 constructors. All right. Well, that's going to be a tiny factory. 10 constructors is like half a floor. Well, we're not going to build to that because I'm sure we're going to need more SAM. And once we do need more SAM, we're going to need more than 10 constructors. Is that really how reanimated SAM works? Why do I feel like I had more than 10 constructors in my old base doing this? Let's double check the mass. Each one is doing 120. Yeah, 10. Okay. Very interesting. So we're only going to have 300 reanimated SAM, but hopefully that's more than enough for our purposes. So let's just set up a real simple 1-floor version factory of our constructor building. So I'm going to quickly do that. You've seen that constructor building set up 2 episodes ago multiple times. So once that's done, I will come and talk about it. There it is, our building, a single floor, only half utilized to make reanimated SAM. We only need 10 constructors apparently, so we've got our 10 constructors in here. I've also done all the lights and the trimmings and all that fun stuff. You've seen it 100 times on the other side. So there's our constructor building. I've even put the sign in so we know how much reanimated SAM we're producing, because that's not going to be the focus of this episode. This episode, we're going to create something new and interesting. And that new and interesting comes in the form of the SAM fluctuator. The SAM fluctuator has no alternate recipes, and it is used in the alien power matrix at only 12.5 per minute. Now, the thing is, I don't know how much I actually need to produce. So maybe if I put one down into my power grid, it will tell me. What if I plug this in? Is it going to tell me how many of these? Each one uses 5 per minute. Okay. So we have maybe enough summer sloop to build 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and the one that we have in our old base, which is 5, right? So that's fine. Look at this thing. Each one generates 14,000 megawatts of power. That's crazy. But yeah, so we're going to be able to build 5, and it's going to be like 60,000 megawatts of power, and that's only at 10%, right? And 5 per minute, does that max it out? I don't know. Let's just assume 5 per minute, right? So if we want to build this alien power matrix at 5 per minute, each one of these machines, it's made in a quantum encoder, produces 2.5 per minute. I mean, we can use summer sloop to double it up if we want to, but let's see how much SAM fluctuator we need for 5 per minute. So let's do the maths. So we need 2 of these, which is 25 per minute times 5, which is 125 SAM fluctuators per minute. I don't know if we can produce all this other stuff at that rate, but let's just have a look. So 125 SAM fluctuators per minute. This makes 10, and it uses 60 reanimated SAM. Okay, so let's just do this up to... Let's just consume all of our reanimated SAM, because we're definitely not making 120. That would require more than 600 reanimated SAM per minute, and we're only producing 300. So let's just consume all of the reanimated SAM and build a SAM fluctuator factory, and we're going to make sure that whatever we build is definitely expandable, and we'll go from there. So we're going to need a manufacturing thing that can hold, well, only 5, right? Because each one consumes 60 and we have 300. So at the moment, only 5. But obviously we want it to do more than 5 at some point in the future. Okay, that doesn't sound completely insane. So this tower is definitely going to expand as we bring in more SAM from around the world. And we're definitely going to need to bring in more SAM from around the world when we need power. But let's get a prototype concept going. Let's start with some floor. Now I'm just going to drop some manufacturers down to see what 5 manufacturers actually looks like. They're pretty massive, and I want to give this quite a lot of room. Yeah, it's quite big. I think 5 is probably a good number of manufacturers to put together in a line anyway, because any less than that is going to make the belting really difficult. We could do something really weird and interesting with the manufacturers, but I don't think we want to. We probably just want to do them in a line, and then our factory is going to look really weird. Let's go with that, and we'll build accordingly. Let's just add another row of floor on the outside. This is what a row of 5 manufacturers kind of looks like, and this is kind of the building that we want to get it to work on. So let's just start sketching out a building that can house this, and manufacturers are going to be pretty interesting. I've got a couple of design ideas in mind for this, so let's just put in a corner first, so we know this is the end of the building. Obviously we want plenty of space between the manufacturers and the end of the building, so let's just get that going. Let's just draw a line here first. Now, one of the biggest challenges with the manufacturers is going to be managing the 4 inputs. Obviously, we don't want it to be doing that crazy stuff that we were doing before. So my idea for doing this is actually to elevate the manufacturers a little bit. Let's see how that might look. So say this is the start of our manufacturers. Maybe we should do it 2 tiles in and just give it plenty of room, because I feel like the manufacturers might need way more room than I think it does. Let's see how big an elevation they need. So my concept is to manage their belts hidden underneath the manufacturer, but not in an actual subfloor. So let's see if that idea even works. I'm going to drop 1 manufacturer, just see how big roughly it needs. About 3 tiles is probably big enough for the platform. So we had something like this, and let's just put some foundation on top for the manufacturers to sit on. They can just be our old fix-it foundations. And let's try to fit 5 manufacturers onto this platform here. And we want their inputs to come from this side. So it's going to hang off the edge here like that. We could probably shift it in 1 so it doesn't look super awkward. Let's just try with one and see how that looks. So my idea for managing their inputs is to just bring it all under here. Say there's 4 inputs like that, right? And then it'll go into this subfloor bit, and we can like delete the wall and figure out some way to hide all this if we use conveyor walls or whatnot. But essentially you'll be able to put mergers like along here, or splitters, sorry, I should say. Splitters along here. So say our material feeds in from this direction, and we can sort of misalign them a little bit to get the 4 materials in like this. Right, so that way all the messiness is hidden under the floor. Something like that. And then obviously this will all crisscross into the next thing, but all of that is hidden underneath the floor, right? So they just kind of sit on a platform, and we can decorate this platform, make it look nice and whatnot. Unfortunately, we can't do a half platform here, but I think it needs plenty of room underneath for all these mergers to sit on. So I think this is fine. Of course, there's going to be an output here too, so don't forget about that. But the output can be just managed on top because it's just one thing, right? So I think that will be fine. I'm going to get rid of this for now so I can lay out my 5 manufacturers. Oh, maybe we'll just leave it. So if we just stack them right next to each other, we're going to need more floor. And that's what our 5 manufacturers elevated on the platform will look like now. And if we leave 2 tiles of space over here, that should be plenty of space. And if we leave like 1, 2 tiles of space here, that should be plenty of space. So I'm just going to sketch out where the building's going to end. And we'll leave 2 tiles of space on this side as well. And there we go. We've made our box for our manufacturer building. Now, we want to do something cool with this building, something interesting maybe, something new. So I had a little thing in mind. Let's see how that plays out. We also got to decide how tall this building is going to be. Now a normal manufacturer goes up 4 floors, so we'll do it 5 floors high, I think is a good idea. I mean, let's just bring that over to the manufacturer and just see if it clips into anything, like its lights and stuff. Just barely. 5 floors high just barely doesn't clip into the lights, so that should be fine. Alright, cool. So that's a decent height for it. Now for the frame of this, I was thinking of doing something cool, which is using a diagonal. So let's see how that might look. I want a diagonal kind of like this, but does that align with this diagonal? So we still need our road barriers to build this. There'll be something like that, and then these 2 will pretty much form our upwards. So it was 5, right? Wait, something's not right over here. Get rid of these road barriers first. This one's correct. This one doesn't line up quite right. Needs to be in here. That's the one. Got to get it on the right road barrier. So that's our corner. Now, can I shift this to be centered? Not really. This is not centered. So this will just be bigger than I thought it would be. So it's just like 5 this way. And then it's just slightly... Oh, can I even hit this tile? What I was thinking is, let's do something interesting by, instead of what we normally do with our square boxes and stuff, let's do something diagonal along the roof. So if we zoom this out to here, let's see where that meets up. So we bring both out like this. That creates the diagonal beam that we need. And then over here, it would come up here and meet it somehow. It's just a little bit off. That's very sad. We would basically need to shift this wall in a little bit to meet this perfectly, right? And we can't add another one over here, otherwise it'll stick out. Can we fix it with a half foundation? Kind of, but it doesn't meet what, like, the things over here perfectly. To make it meet perfectly, we'd have to start it from this side and build it out using road barriers, right? It does meet this edge perfectly, but to meet this edge perfectly, we'd have to build out like a road barrier like this, and then here, and then build a tile on this road barrier, I think. Like that. And then it meets an edge perfectly like that. And we can actually get rid of this. Oh, that's very interesting. Now, why did I want to do that? Is because if I did a similar thing on the other side, I was wondering if I can create this cool diagonal effect. Let's see if we do the same thing on the other side, what that looks like. Okay, we've got our road barriers and our 2 beams. Now, am I going to regret doing something so complex? Probably. But hey, that's the whole point of this series, is to build interesting architecture, so I don't mind. Now we've got our 2 diagonal beams. Now if we go across from here, it kind of meets over here somewhere, right? And now we've got a diagonal beam for our building. Does it meet exactly in the center here? That would be amazing. Yeah, kind of. I think this works out nicely. At least we've got some more interesting architecture. We're trying our best not to build things in square boxes, and this is definitely a part of it. So there we go. We've got like our 2 diagonal beams and a much more interesting foundation, kind of, I think. What do we think of that? Now, how do we seal off the building is the question. Imagine if there was some ramp that we could do to get a diagonal going down this way. That would be sick. But I don't think that's possible. Like, I'm just gonna do random. I don't think this is gonna work out, but what if we took some sort of center point and started building down ramp from here? Where would that lead to? Somewhere here, but not. It's not like perfect. It's almost. I think that's a little bit too complex and crazy. But what we've essentially done is created this triangular box. So if we can just frame the triangular box, we should be able to build an interesting something. So if I framed it like this, then can we do something here? We definitely need a pillar on this side. Let me get rid of this one. Do I want a pillar there? Well, we frame it like this, and then we just do a glass window that meets in the middle here. See how that would look. Because I really want the manufacturer's thing to be open. Just put the windows in first, and then maybe we'll get some ideas on how to frame the windows a little bit better. We'll meet it out here halfway. That looks kind of nice. I kind of like that. Now the top of this is obviously just going to be glass, I believe. Would make the most sense. But can we do anything interesting to the framing of these windows using some diagonal ramps? What if we did that technique where we open it up the window to the corner? Like this. And then we close it up with double ramps. Really hates that. Let me get rid of some of these windows. It really hates joining the double ramp to the edge of this thing. It's really weird. They don't intersect very well. That's the problem. Could just do something like this. And then underneath here we can do let me just think. The intersection of this is all a little bit random. But I was thinking under here we could do billboards instead, but they kind of are going to come through the window. We'll just keep experimenting. What if we did it similarly from the other side? Now this side it can't do that because this thing is slanted, right? It's definitely an interesting shape. I like the diagonal beam, but what can we do with this that's more interesting? I'm thinking, what if we did 2 pillars like this and then connected it diagonally? We're definitely making this building extremely complex. You'd have to do it on both ends like this. But this is cool. You can get diagonal beams coming out at weird angles. And in theory, it should connect to something here. Is it? Am I using the wrong one? Does it connect to this one? Is my question. I think it does, somehow. It's actually at the wrong height, isn't it? No, what? This is at the wrong height. It actually joins up perfectly, kind of. Oh, I like this diagonal beam concept. But then how do we join this up so that it looks nice? I mean, we can do a diagonal ceiling. That's kind of fine. Keep experimenting. See what we can come up with. So the geometry is kind of cool. It's just a little bit hard to seal. So we do have to flatten out these edges, unfortunately, I think. And then we have this and this, which is kind of cool. And then we have this section and this section to do. And it'll just be asymmetric. I don't think we need to repeat it here. We don't need like 4 rows of this stuff. What we can do is probably just put some glass roofs in. Now these are 1 meter foundations, so the glass roof's just going to sit flush with them, right? Which, is that a good idea? So we probably want these to be 2 meter foundations. Let's try with 2 meter foundations and see where that lands us. Could be crazy. Where did I even start this build from? Let me zoom this way. I think that's okay. I don't mind this window looking like this. What if we did something super whack and not even put foundations here and just made this entire thing out of glass? What would that even look like? Would that just look whack? Oops, did I delete an entire row of glass here? Yep. So we have glass, well, we can do flat roofs, or we can do glass frame foundations. Is that a bit thick compared to a roof? Does that just look too crazy? It's just a glass box now. I think the framing looks a bit too much. Maybe we need to use the ceilings. We do have flat roof, right? That's like much more open. Definitely a super interesting concept. I like it. What do you guys think of this? Completely glass roof. Now, obviously, on top of here, we're going to need to fill it with 1 meter foundation to make it look good. Let's see how that might look. We're going to cover this whole area with 1 meter foundation. And then this entire top section needs to be like 1 meter foundation as well, right? That way it frames it properly. I don't think that looks bad. Obviously, then this part needs to be changed a little bit. Like this from here and then all the way down. And it'll cut into here, but that's not a problem. I don't mind that. And then it gives this nice weird diagonal triangle look. We'll obviously need to put in some stuff around here to make it look decent. But that is a very, very interesting looking corner of a building. Definitely something new and different to what we've been doing so far. I like it. Alright, next port of call is this thing over here, which, well, we'll have to seal up. We'll have to elevate this part, but in here, we need to fill this roof with something. And I'm thinking, why don't we use the billboards? But we can't just put billboards here, can we? Yeah. I don't think billboards are going to fit here like that. So we're going to have to put something in between to support the billboards. In theory, we should just be able to put 2 meter foundation somewhere. Like to the bottom of here, for example. And then we should be able to put billboards in. I'm going to start it from the center and build them out. So that just in case it sticks out too much. So I'm going to place a billboard as center as I can. Large billboards seem to be fine for this. And then now that I've got one down, I should be able to snap it to this. And that should perfectly cover everything. Yep, that looks good. This one's a little bit short. So this one needs to be like here. And then we'll see if it still works. And that one's too big. Might need to use small billboards. Oh, that's going to be terrible to do. It's a little bit annoying because billboards can't intercept one another, right? Let's just see how that would look. It will Z-Fi. And even if I put a pattern on there, it would still Z-Fi, right? We need to get that pattern on. I don't think I can copy the pattern from a small billboard to a large billboard, can I? I don't even have a pattern readily accessible here. I want this pattern, but I don't think you can copy from small billboards to large billboards. We just have to manually make the pattern again. Now I got the billboard done properly this time. Let's see if it works. It's like kind of Z-fighting, but not terrible. What do we think of that? A little bit of purple strip in the middle. Now obviously we need the same foundations to elevate this to the right height. And I think that looks pretty good. It's a very interesting design. Very different. Now we can carve out most of this, can't we? We don't actually need this part to be there for the roof to work. I think we can simplify this design a little bit. Let me just think about this for a second. If we could just shift the windows down 1, then everything should line up a lot better, right? And it probably makes sense we don't want the frame of this to be 4 tiles high either. Maybe? I don't know. Or maybe we should just keep it like this. I think we can clean this up a little bit. I was tinkering around with these. I still think we should stick with these diagonal beams. I just cleaned up this one a little bit so that it all follows the same pattern with the singular pillar. And I added some of these diagonal cross beams and it just makes the most interesting shapes. I just tested whether it's possible to seal the roof off properly, and it is. So I kind of like this. So we're going to go with this and we're going to keep developing it out. So let's see what that might look like along here. I'm going to get rid of some of these windows, because you got to build from the roof down to make this work. So to get the right alignment and no gaps. But this build is a lot cleaner than before. We don't have to add an extra layer for geometry purposes. It actually indents in nicely. So this main section is the frame. But we do need to... I have no snapping point for this. Maybe if I delete this. Oh, this is going to be so hard to rebuild. Let me figure out a cleverer way to snap this. I just do that, and then we build it in. That gets me to the right point. By using some of these inclines, you can see you get these cool angles. This one is going to be a little bit more interesting because it's diagonal like that. But maybe we can build it up from here. It's a 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3 tiles. Maybe we can build it upwards from here and it'll meet somewhere interesting. See how it cuts into this thing at a really weird and cool angle and it meets flush against it. And then you end up with this really weird and interesting shape. Now to seal this shape off, we need to use this, but we need a proper snapping point for this, which we can just use from this. And just build it out, and that creates a perfect glass box at the right incline. Not incline, sorry, at the right elevation to have that jutting out a little bit. Alright. So we need to get this such that, like, see how this is like half inclined in, but this needs to meet at a halfway point because otherwise the glass over here is going to be flush against this wall, which we don't want. So we need to build from here. Oh, it's really interesting how to build it. So I put it here and then I shift it halfway in and then we build from this side and we use the bits over here to hide all that excess. So this is the correct one and we just build it in like that and we build it in like that, and that creates our glass box basically. Nothing aligns on the roof, but that's fine. It's all hidden. And then from here we can build glass directly downwards. I think. Yes, we can. It just is a little bit clippy through under here, but we can hide that with some clever billboards. But this is the glass corner I was going for. Like that. And then underneath here, we can hide with billboards and other cool design features. This pillar is definitely required, but that's fine. But yeah, I think I like this. So let's try with the billboards. Because my billboards are usually like one out. We'll do it from this corner so it has a nice clean snapping point. Now the billboards coming from here in theory should interact with the ramps perfectly, that it shouldn't jut out. The only reason the glass juts out is because I'm half a tile down where I'm supposed to be. So we're going to have to use billboards to cover that mess and see how that interacts perfectly. Now we're getting somewhere. I just got to go copy my billboard design. And I think once I paint all this black, it's just going to look pretty good, I think. Now, if we feel this is a little bit too much, we can always add more pillars. Obviously, got to get the billboards on the inside as well. I had to add the billboards first before putting these double ramps back in. We can cut the corner like this nicely as well if we wanted to. I think that looks pretty nice. What do we think of that? I think that looks nice. I think once we paint it all black, it's gonna look sick. I like this thing over here. I mean, we can always replace these with the normal ceilings, but I actually think the frame foundation looks a little bit better. It makes the whole building look a little bit more solid. And we need to probably put some beams and stuff somewhere to make everything framed a little bit better. But I'm gonna go ahead and do that and clean up the rest of this build, and then we'll see where we go from there. I finished this wall over here, and now it's time to fill in this slit. And to break up the glass a bit, I want to do the billboards idea that I was tossing up with before. So what I've done is I've just used these 1 meter foundations to sort of offset the first billboard a little bit. That way the top of the billboard is not lined up. Otherwise, if I built directly on this 4 meter foundation, the top of the billboard would line up to there. So that's fine, and we can definitely get that pattern going in here. The challenge then is the roof part. So we need to do the same thing. So we're going to get the 1 meter foundation, and we're going to offset it down a little bit. And then we're going to see if we can use billboards. Now, obviously I can use small billboards and just hit control and line it up like that. But what about the large billboards? Because they're a little bit easier to place. So we can put the large billboards like this, and now we can possibly line them up better. If I did something like this, that actually lines up almost perfectly. It's a little bit under, but I think if I did it above, there would be a gap. So I'd rather not have a gap. We can always hide this with something, but I kind of want it there so that this doesn't clip there. Or should we do it the other way? If we did it this way, we'd have to do it from this one. So it'd have to be like here, and then make sure it doesn't clip out this side. But that looks okay. And then we can use that as alignment to do the rest. So we put one here, and that looks fine. And then we can align the rest like this. Now this is a little bit tricky. We don't want any gaps anywhere, so we'd have to do them like this. And because they're diagonally tiled now, it's not going to stick out over the edge, hopefully. And hopefully we get the same alignment on the other side. Well, actually, I don't know if that's going to work out so nicely. We're going to have to see how it looks on the other side as well. There's only one placement of the billboard such that there's no holes. Alright, we're here on the other side now. Maybe I should build it up from the bottom. I'll show you guys what I did. So basically we just took a 1 meter foundation, and we took it down one. And we started our small billboards at this height instead of the other height. This is definitely the most complex building I've ever built. I don't know if I'm going to regret this, because on some level this also needs to be extendable, right? Because we need to, we might need to add more manufacturers one day, but that's going to be a future data engineer problem and not a present data engineer problem, because I'm focused on trying to get these two bits to meet up, which is going to be a lot easier said than done. So it has to be there, and then we've got a little bit of gap here that we need to resolve somehow. What if I started it from this side? How did I resolve this gap? I was using 1 meter foundations somewhere, like here. I mean, there might just be a little bit of Z fighting, and if it's tolerable, then we'll just leave it. So we needed to do that and not intercept out this side. So we did 1 across, 2 across, like that. And that lines up perfectly with this. And then we just need another billboard to go in here. Needs to be half a tile. And then that somehow needs to intercept with that. And still look decent somehow. I mean, that's going to definitely Z-fight, right? Surprisingly, it's not Z-fighting. Let me put in this wall first. Get rid of this. And obviously we can't... Oh, we can. Does that look terrible is the question. That looks friggin' crazy. It's this feature wall that just goes all the way up and over. If only there was a triangular tile I can clean this bit up with, but it actually looks fine. Does this look fine to you guys? This is absolutely insane. Emissive strength 1, emissive strength 3, math. So I just want this to be more emissive to match the emissiveness of everything else. Because it's looking a little bit dark. But yeah, that all matches and it actually lines up nicely. That's freaking crazy. Look at that. It's like this little thing over here. What's going on over here though? Nothing. It's just part of the shape. Okay. Is that happening on this side too? Why doesn't it happen on this side? Because it doesn't have that weird shape. It doesn't have this bit. Alright, this bit looks a bit weird, but I think we can tolerate it. Once I paint everything black, it should look a lot more interesting and better. So that's another section of the wall down. Now we've just got one last bit to do. Well, I gotta fill in these feature walls as well, but that's not a problem. Yeah, we're pretty much done. We just need to fill in this last section of wall, which is the same thing that I've done on the other side, and we're pretty much done. So I'm gonna do that. I've pretty much sealed the building now, so here's how it looks. I think it looks pretty sick. We probably just need to add some more like diagonal walls to cut that, but I'll do that in a bit when I go inside the building and fill in the back walls. Like for example, this wall over here, it's a little bit too much because it's too colorful, so we can cut it with some more ramps. What if we cut this thing? That creates such an interesting angle. Like it gives us such a soft turn, but it looks so nice. I really like that. Now we can kind of cut this wall a bit as well, I think, because it's a bit too much just having 2 panels of billboards. I think that's kind of fine, just to cut it like that. And what if we put in one more upside down thingy-mabob? Would that just magically make it look good? That would be hilarious. No, that's not going to work, is it? Because it cuts this wall fine, but then there's nothing to join it to this section. Unless we seal it off. Okay, we'll just leave this one open. That's fine. I think that looks fine. Or maybe we can get rid of this. So many options. Or something like that, maybe. Then that looks super weird over here. Don't like that. We'll just leave this part open. We'll do one bar over here. Well, we can adjust that later, but yeah. Basically, we need to carve some entranceways into this building, because currently there's no way into this building. Now, given the way I've designed this whole thing, carving an entranceway into here is not as easily said as done. So let me figure out where. I'm thinking we just do a diagonal entrance here, right? So how would that look? We'd have to get rid of some of these. Then if we want to do a half foundation, like here and here, that will be like the entranceway into the building, but it's not looking very entranceway-ish at the moment. And there's no, you can't do triangle things. So, well, I mean, I suppose you could do triangle things. No, there's no way to do a triangular entrance into here. And then this will be a little bit weird as well. We'd have to seal this off somehow like this. And then we'd have to just cut it here or something. Think about this. Could do something like that. And then can we make these corners touch somehow? Using magical road barriers. Learning as I go. It'd be something like this. And then we can't put a foundation there, but that's fine. We'd have to seal off the back part too, right? And we might need to use regular foundation for this back part. That's not right. There. Creating very weird and interesting shapes now. I suppose this kind of works like an entranceway and actually seals off the top bit as well. That's kind of cool, isn't it? Like maybe this, but a little bit further back. Let me redo that. There we go, a cool looking diagonal entranceway. Now we can add the same little entrance lighting. And I think once that Z fighting's covered up, we should look a lot better. What do we think of that? Oh, that's a nice looking entranceway. Alright, let's keep doing stuff to these big panels of light. Well, actually, the reason why I wasn't doing that is because I need to do the inside of all these. So I'm going to do the inside of all of these billboards, and then hopefully things will look a little bit better. Alright, with the insides done, we can now cut up these walls a bit better. So we can do... We don't have to make them all the same. We can do something different. It hates me. Won't even let me put in anything. We'll just do a more symmetrical. I mean parallel is the word I'm looking for. trying to put a little triangle here. We'll just have to do it the hard way, which is just to put another tile out here and then do the triangle in. Give it a much more softer feel to it rather than just one big wall of light. I feel like I want to get rid of this. I don't know, I don't like whatever's happening here. I'm gonna figure out something here. We might change up the pattern a bit there, but we'll see in a second. Let's just fill in the rest of these walls. Alright, that's looking a lot better. Last wall over here. Now it's looking nice. I think that's looking pretty good. I like the style of this build. Now, how do we cut up this wall? Try pillars. If we just did some pillars here, does that break up this wall nicely, or does it look terrible? That actually looks alright. I don't mind that. And it covers up a lot of the mess, and it breaks up this wall. Do the same on the other side. Good old metal pillars come in to save the day. Wait, did I do it flush against it, or did I do it one tile in? I feel like I did it one tile in, didn't I? Nope, it's flush against it. I've just done this tile, I think, a little bit inconsistently, but that's kind of fine. No one's gonna notice. This is my first attempt at this crazy building. I feel like these two things don't align perfectly fine. What? So weird. But still, it looks nice. I don't mind that. And with that, I think we are pretty much done with this build. We just got to make it work. Did I even hook up the SAML? I don't even think I hooked up the SAML. I just dove straight into this building. Now, of course, the coloring of this is what's going to be important. We obviously want it to be either black or white. Let's see what black looks like. I think given all these frames are black, I think black just looks a lot better. Oh, there's only one way to find out, and that's to paint it all in and see if it still looks good. Now, there's our building in all black. It definitely looks a lot better than before. Very cool, interesting architecture. Now, can we do one feature strip in white? I'm thinking this middle beam. How did that look? All black with one white strip in the middle. I think that looks awesome. Now it needs a little bit of LED band lighting, I think. Everything always needs a little bit of LED lighting to finish up. And I think that'll just really make everything pop. So we'll put one vertical band here. And we're gonna do a diagonal band over here. I hope it lets me. How does it know already it's diagonal? But it won't let me put it on the put it downwards this way, right? Yeah, there's no shot in hell. If I want to do this, I'm gonna have to do this manually, which isn't really a problem, but just see where to do it. If it's able to strip to be in the middle of the floor, but there is no real middle per se in this. I guess we'll just start it from here is probably our best bet. And then we have to like rotate it from here, and that will be our middle. Surely it can align to this thing, right? Yep. Like here would be the start of it. Oh, it's super annoying to build this strip of LED light. Is it gonna be worth it? I have no idea. Alright, let me get to the end and then we'll see. Alright, I finished building the strip of LED strips, and I can tell you it was super not worth doing, so I'm hoping it'll look good at least. Let me copy over the light and let's just paste it all in, and hopefully it'll look decent. You literally have to manually build this. There's no other way about it. Alright, and someone told me if I don't want these little bits in between my light, you just overlap them and then the bit disappears and there's apparently no Z fighting, which is cool. But I kind of like the little bits in between the light. I feel like it was super not worth doing that, but it's done now. I mean, ideally we'd like it on this side too, but I don't think I'm going to do another band. Just out of sheer laziness. I think we'll just leave it with one band over here. I think that's enough. LED lighting for one building. Just having a look at my building, it's looking alright. Cut an interesting shape into this. Yeah, I like it. I like it. I'm just wondering if I fully like it or not. There are some bits that are a little bit weird, like here, that may benefit from doing some sort of beam work. Let's see if that beam work fixes it. It won't let me diagonal this way. I have to freeform it. I guess it does make it look better. I guess I'm going around adding beams to everywhere now. Just some of the edges that look a little bit weird. Like, I think that already looks a bit better. But add extra beams down this way, will that help or will that just make it worse? I don't like that one. I think that one extra beam is okay. I don't think it needs to extend past here, does it? Maybe like up to here. Yeah, that edge is definitely needed because of the weird way the glass cuts into the wall. What about this edge? This edge looks fine because it's black on black. Especially the black on white looked a little bit weird. But I think everything else looks kind of fine. There's a little bit of Z fighting here, but that's barely noticeable. I think overall it looks pretty sweet. I think I like it. Didn't turn out as awesome looking as I thought it would. I mean, it still looks very boxy, but the diagonal top beams look interesting, I guess. We really got to start making designs that aren't a box, but we'll have to think about how to do that. Anyway, we got to hook up all the belts now because we haven't done anything yet. All we've been doing is exterior design. Maybe we can put some cool ceiling lights along here or something. We'll have to see. So before we can get any of these machines working to make SAM fluctuators, we obviously need our reanimated SAM. So let's head over to our constructors that we built earlier and get that going first. So I'll probably do the same thing that we've always done, which is get them out, well, like this window or something like that. And I believe we use a double wall. Keep forgetting. And we'll get a lift going down and that should line up to something over here. Now on the outside, that can just go down into the subfloor, I guess. We did this a little bit differently, but that should be fine. Just because of this curve over here, there's no point putting in a conveyor hole in the ground. So we're just going to bring a lift straight through. Now our SAM is over here, so we can bring that along the ceiling. We'll just lift that straight up and we'll bring it along the ceiling this way. Here we are. Might need to change the direction of this lift a little bit to face this direction. That way we can curve this straight in without any issues. Fantastic. The SAM is now flowing, so let's check our manifold. Let's fill our floor back in. Now everything here was powered already, so we're all good. So that should be now producing reanimated SAM that's coming out of here. And we need to pump it through to the factory next door somewhere. Now, the input for this, we can start working on now. Remember, we set up this little platform so we can hide all the mergers underneath. So let's see how that's going to actually look now. Try to do this in a slightly more structured way. Now, do we want the lifts doing this all the way through? I don't mind it. Or we can do conveyor holds, but that's a little bit more annoying to build. So we can just do something like this. I don't think that looks horrible. So let me just knock out this back wall then. And let's just get all our lifts going. I think this particular setup only has 3 lifts, so let's not muddy things up with 4 lifts. Why there's a random billboard here, I will never know. Alright, let's get the inputs going. So we want to hide the lift somewhere. So we might as well, we've got 3 sets of things, so we can just put them in the middle, right? Just to make it easier to line up to things. So that lines up to that. We obviously want it to be a splitter, and we can have the inputs coming out of this wall. And they can come out of the center of each wall, right? So I'm going to do the first one first. Fortunately, there's only 5 to do. There's our 5. Now let's get the belts in. It's a little bit hard to build under here, but still better than trying to do this messiness above ground. There's no way I can make this look less messy, I don't think. There's just too many inputs. We've got to connect all these belts. Now we can do a second one on the center of this row, and we want it to line it up to the center, which is that one. Fine. Once we start working with manufacturers more, we'll probably blueprint this, but for now this is just our proof of concept. Alright, let's get the belts into the lifts. So this is the purpose of the subfloor, to hide all these crisscrossies that you're seeing right now. Alright, our final thing. I think, I'm not sure if this final one is going to be giving me a line. Oh, it still kind of does. Does it? Yep, cool. As long as I have my line, it's all good. Alright, let's get the belts into the lifts again. And then we'll connect all the belts between the splitters now. Alright, that's fantastic. We are done here. Let's put the walls in. Could probably put one wall here. There's no like half walls, but can I fit a wall in between two of these cleanly? Kind of. Is there a point to doing this? Probably not. What do we think of that? Does that look terrible and messy? I think it looks alright. Now I know the alignment of the machine on this side and this side is not the same, but that's okay. Not everything needs to be perfectly symmetrical all the time. Now if we want to distinguish this a little bit, we can use some railings. Now is there a better railing I can use than that railing? Let's try some industrial railing maybe. Just to give this a little bit of a skirting, you know? I think it'll look better. I hate these industrial railings, how you can't select into the holes, otherwise it just doesn't select it. Super weird. Now we'll just add one more here. It doesn't really matter that it's not symmetrical, it's fine. Alright, that's all of our machines done. They need power of some sort. And also I need to open up this wall for the conveyors themselves to go into the ground. Now I can do it here, or I can do it somewhere else. Like we can make it visible, or we can make it hidden. Either we can put floor holes here, here, and here and hide them, or we can put them out here. It's neither here nor there at the moment, so let's just do them out here. So we can change these walls into conveyor walls. Like that. Now we can lift that into the conveyor walls. I'll do it from the back. That's 1, 2, and 3. There we go. Now we can do floor holes here. And look, we can do floor holes. We can bring them out the wall. We can do anything we want now with this. So we can like punch it out this wall and get that going out here somewhere. I don't know. We'll figure it out. But before we do that, let's get the power going. The good thing about having a little bit of foundation and floor down here is that we can get the power directly down onto here somewhere. Maybe on the other side. Like we can put the power kind of here, and that sort of hides it. Instead of having to add an extra bar like we normally do. And then we can connect all of that power together, and we can send it out the wall. That looks a bit weird, eh? Might send it directly up into the ceiling. Where is directly up into the ceiling? It's around here. Look at it from this angle. Probably around here. Having it in the middle of the glass looks a little bit weird, even though that's directly upwards. So I'm just going to put it here along this beam, and then we can send it out, and that would be around here. And from here we can connect it to any power source. We can go across and use one of these train stations if we wanted to, or we can use one of these power things, or we can connect it between here. Lots of options. Let's see where this goes across. So it's around this line. And the height would be around here. Probably here. Why doesn't this line up perfectly to a height? Right, because I'm not centered. I think that's fine. We can just put it here. And then we can put this now anywhere we want. We can just put it through the wall diagonally and line it up like this. And then just connect it to one of these, and that should get power to it. So all of these machines now have power. They need a recipe, so we'll copy the recipe over. Now they all have power recipe, they just need their materials. wire, steel, and reanimated SAM. Now let's do the easiest one first. So this one, if we want to punch it out the window, it would be like here somewhere. Do we want to punch it out the window? Just seeing if this even lines up to anything. I can get it into like this window, but would that even look nice? In which case we'd get it through the subfloor, or the above subfloor area. So it'd be this window. It'd be a little bit weird, I think. These two windows line up, and then we'd put a conveyor wall like here. That's not even the right window. Don't really like that. Thing where there's a clean spot I can send the SAM through. I can send it through like one of these walls, but that would look really awkward. Yeah, we're overcomplicating this. Let's just send it through the floor. We'll get a floor hole going here, and we'll get a floor hole going over there, and then we'll just go underground and connect them. If you can't find a clean way to do this, let's not force it. Like, I like to show my belts as decoration, but if it actually muddies up the build, then it's not really worth it, is it? Oh man, I need subfloor. Remember, my rule is when a belt travels this direction, then we want to hang it on the ceiling, but when it travels to the floor, we want to put it on the floor. Sorry, when it travels, this is east-west, goes along the floor, north-south goes along the ceiling. So I'm gonna have to put some subfloor somewhere. Let me just tile it out. I mean, theoretically, one day, if we fill up all our train stations, all of this needs to be subfloor anyway, so it doesn't really matter. But here's my subfloor, so let's just bring that across there. And where's my other floor hole? It's over here, so let's bring that across here. We'll build the subfloors as we need them. Now we can get a conveyor lift going like this onto the floor, and we can bring a belt somewhere close by. Then we'll bring this down. And in you go. That should bring the SAM, the reanimated SAM out, and that is one of 3 ingredients done. Now our second ingredient is wire, which we're already producing on the other side of the world, and steel pipe, which we aren't producing. And we need quite a bit of both, but we need quite a bit of steel pipe. So 3 times 5 is 150 steel pipe per minute. That is a actual crazy amount of steel pipe. Our options for producing steel pipe is we can make them directly out of iron bars, we can make them the original way, or we can make them out of a concrete mix. The concrete mix obviously preserves the steel ingots, makes it 1-to-1, otherwise it's like 3-to-2. And 3-to-2 is not that bad. Going from 3-to-2 to 1-to-1 plus 30 concrete doesn't seem like it's worth it to me, so it's basically just a constructor factory. And we're making, I think, 1200 steel ingot per minute, so we can commit quite a lot of that to making the steel pipe that we need. Need to probably save some for steel beams, right? We're gonna need steel for a lot of stuff. We're gonna have to expand our steel production at some point, so we'll just turn it into what we need whenever we need it. So over onto the other side of the factory, we're probably going to need to build our steel factory. So if we recall, this is our iron smelting building. It's smelting 2 full belts of iron ore at the moment. And this is our steel production foundry, which even though I haven't labeled yet, I believe we've got enough machines producing a full 1200 belt, because they've got 60 per minute and there's 20 of them. Yeah, so we've got 1200 steel to play with at the moment, and we need 150 pipes. So we definitely got enough for the pipes. Let's see how many pipe machines we actually need. So to make the 150, we only need like 6 or 7. We don't need many constructors. It's kind of fine. The other thing is we've got to just check what else we need steel to make. Like beams is kind of bad. It's like 4-to-1, right? Whereas this goes from 3-to-1-ish plus concrete. Or we can make it out of aluminum, which is 1-to-1, which is kind of tempting because aluminum is not particularly hard to make. I say aluminum is not particularly hard to make. I just mean it's like made out of bauxite, but we can get a 1200 belt of aluminum out, I think, is less of a waste than trying to process this steel. Because even if we were to process a full Mark 6 belt of steel, we'd only end up getting like a quarter of that out. So like 300 steel beams per minute, which, you know, could be fine, not sure. The only other issue is that the iron products that we want to make, we're going to make out of steel as well. Because if we use iron to make this, we're getting 3-to-2. Whereas if we use iron and steel, we're getting one iron ingot, one steel ingot, and it turns 1 to 3. So we need some steel to make iron plates, and I'm pretty sure screws is the same deal. Okay, so we don't have the final screw recipe yet, but we do have an iron to screw recipe. This one is a rod to screw recipe. I don't think this is better. We'll have to do the maths. And our final one is the iron rod, which is 1 to 1, or if we use steel to produce iron rods, we get 1 to 4. So I think maybe this is like one endeavor that we can do together in one go. We'll do all our steel products out here now that we need it, which means we can't get the SAM fluctuators online this episode. So that's fine. We can do that next episode. We can leave it here for this episode. We have to figure out transport as well once we get all these products online. How do we bring it from this side to the other side of the factory? I mean, we can of course just run a belt across here, but I have some pretty cool stuff in mind. Since we've left some space underneath here, one of my viewers suggested, why not put like a truck station down here that can utilize these roads to bring materials around your factory and bring some life to the factory. These roads are currently just decorative, but we can put some tractors that actually transport materials as an alternate to belts, right? When we don't have to move 1200 units of material, we can definitely rely on our tractors and our the trucks and the tractors to do that. So we can explore all of that next episode. For now, I think we'll leave it at that. We've definitely constructed an interesting-ish building, although I'm not happy that it ended up becoming rectangular. I feel like if I cut some corners off the edge, we could have got a nice like parallelogram shape or something going, but that's fine. It is what it is. We're still learning our various building techniques, and we've definitely learned some stuff about diagonal beams and how cool that they can look on factories. And I definitely think that gives it an interesting shape, because if you look at the other side of my factory, all the roofs are very blocky and square. And now if you look on this side, we've got some diagonality to everything. So definitely making our factory look a bit more interesting. You might ask, how am I going to expand this? Because obviously these 5 producing 10 SAM fluctuators per minute, or total producing what, 50, is not going to be enough to sustain whatever we're trying to build. But that's fine. We can figure out how to expand, and I'm thinking we can expand upwards and this way and stack this building on top of itself, but turn it 90 degrees and do some cool stuff like that. And then we can add like truck stops down here to deal with all the material transport. I don't know, lots of things that we can do. We obviously need to acquire a lot more SAM ore to do something like that, but for now I think we'll just leave it here. So if you don't want to miss out on all of that, don't forget to leave a like and sub, and I will see you all in the next video. Thanks for watching.